Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 71. I said a few weeks ago that I really want to start meeting people from different countries, different cultures, and hearing about agriculture all around the world. Now, one continent we definitely haven't been to is Africa. We have spoke to Flavian from Kenya, but he's from Kenya. He definitely farms in the UK, so we haven't actually spoke to someone in Africa. So that's why today is really interesting. Today, we have, if I say this wrong, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to try my best, okay? Regis Umuginereza. Nope. I've tried so hard.
It's okay. It's fine. Umuginereza.
Yeah, so I did my best. But we'll stick with Regis for the rest of the podcast, so I don't embarrass myself. But would you like to say hello to the listeners, Regis?
Yeah. Yes. My name is Regis Umuginereza. So I'm coming from Rwanda. I'm in Rwanda, Kigali.
Before we get on into another excellent episode of the R2Kast, I would just like to thank the sponsor for the show today, The Scottish Farmer. A weekly magazine highlighting everything you need to know regarding the Scottish agricultural industry, whether it's breaking news, events happening in the sector, market reports, classified ads, or just wholesome stories happening in the industry. The Scottish Farmer's got it for you.
Perfect. So, yeah, a country that, I'll be honest, throughout my studies, I didn't learn much about. Throughout my masters, I went to, I didn't go to, I wrote about quite a lot of different countries, but Rwanda was not one. But I do have a little thing that I'm going to say here, and you might say I'm wrong, but I am sure Rwanda is known as the land of 1,000 hills. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Got something right. I've redeemed myself a little bit. I've redeemed myself.
So 1,000 hills.
Yeah,
the country of 1,000 hills. Yeah. Very recently, we hosted the program.
What was that again? Sorry.
Very recently, we hosted the program. The head of state summit.
Yeah.
The Commonwealth head of state summit.
That's right. That's so was. Of course, I forgot that. Of course. Yeah, good point. I'm not starting this very well, but we're here to hear about you, not me trying to pretend I know things. We originally got in touch through Katie Burns from the Scottish Association of Young Farmers, which I quite like to talk about because there's obviously been some kind of crossover there with Scottish farmers, with yourself, Regis, which we'll get into later. But what I always like to sort of hear from folk is you're very much in the agricultural industry at the minute. Was that always the case? Were you from a family that was farming? Were you always interested in farming?
Thank you so much. I'm a farmer by professional, but I'm a farmer also by practice. So I do work in farming industry since 2014. But even before that, I did my studies in agriculture. So I did agriculture economics and agribusiness. Mm-hmm. So since then, from my university graduation, I started working in this sector where I created a company called R2Kast Group. So which is a company that does sweet potato processing with much focus on orange fresh sweet potatoes. There's a reason of why sweet potatoes. We have the longest story of sweet potatoes here in Rwanda, as it was considered as food for everyone 28 years back. So Rwanda was under development. Now we are a country which is developing. So we have so many options. Yeah. But that time, for sweet potato was considered as people were eating at least 3 times a day. But nowadays, because of having different options, they consider it as useless crop, food for poor, food for people who are living in the rural area. Sometimes they feed the animals when it's harvesting time because of its productivity. Sometimes you experience the excess of it. It's a climate resilient crop, that's why. So that's why most of the farmers Mostly the rural farmers, they focus much on growing it. So the government take it as a food security crop.
Yeah.
So when it's not there, most of the time we experience the hunger in the country. Even though the urban people, they consider it as a food for poor, food for, because of that excess. So I decided to venture into that to make sure that we can create a value addition of it, but also create the market for those farmers who are suffering. Because when you look at the poverty side, those who are growing it, they are most vulnerable people. They are most people who are living in the poverty. And the other concern is that we in Rwanda, we have a huge percentage of children who are suffering from malnutrition.
Right.
And you cannot talk about agriculture and forget about talking about the nutrition. So I was trying to imagine the production, the value addition of what we already have here in Rwanda, but trying to transmit the nutritional content of the sweet potatoes we are talking also to those people who are vulnerable. So that's why I decided to go into sweet potatoes, because we are using orange fresh sweet potatoes, which is a crop that has a huge beta carotene content, which is a major source of vitamin A. And most of the children who are having that malnutrition here, it's a vitamin A deficiency. So I was trying to see if those people who are living in the rural area doesn't like to eat sweet potatoes in a way of they used to eat, like a boiled. I was trying to find another way of eating that vitamins instead of wasting it. So that's why we started creating other products such as pastries, breads, and then we can be able even to mix it with the other ingredients so that we can at least have a balanced product, a balanced diet product. So instead of taking one sweet potatoes and enjoy the micronutrient crops as from sweet potatoes, now we can mix it with the other ingredients to make a mixture of micronutrients that can fight from that malnutrition I'm talking about.
That's
good. Then, yeah.
That you've this sort of thing to sort of help those that are, you said a lot of the farmers growing sweet potatoes are in poverty, help those there, and then also create a market for that so that hopefully their product becomes higher in price. So you're really sort of helping the full circle and making those sweet potatoes that, as you say, are a potential solution to food security in your country more accessible to everyone. That's brilliant and a fantastic idea coming from yourself. Was it just yourself or was it with others?
Yeah, I started the idea with myself, and later I just joined with other three young ladies, to create a company. But it started back even when I was at university, because my dissertation was about sweet potatoes. So I did my dissertation on cost-benefit analysis of orange fresh sweet potatoes in Rwanda. That's where I brought the idea after analyzing the whole ecosystem of that value chain. But I grown up in a family where we used to be, our family was just a farmer, small-scale farmers, just for living. We didn't, I just grew up seeing my mom going into farming but I remember when I told her that I'm going to do agriculture at university, she was so shocked. She wasn't okay because she wanted me to be a doctor or someone else because they were saying that they have been doing farming for so long, and why am I going to be a farmer again as they did? And I was saying, like, no worries, we see how the agriculture can be changed from the way you do it to the way we are going to make it as we are graduate from that as a professional farmer. So since then, I joined the agriculture department, and I come up with that idea as a person who grown up with having sweet potatoes at least 3 times a day. So, and when I looked around and how we were having a losses of the sweet potatoes, that's why I decided to do my dissertation, to know exactly why people are considering sweet potatoes as a useless crop nowadays. So that's why I decided to do my dissertation. Even the time I was about to ask my supervisor on that subject, he was like, where are you going to get the data? Because no one really was interested in the sweet potatoes, either in the research department of the university, either in government. There was a time they even banned to grow the sweet potatoes at all.
Which is crazy, given the potential it has.
So crazy. But they decided to ban it because they wanted people to grow these cash crops.
Okay.
And then they say, we don't want to see people growing sweet potatoes because it was everywhere. So they wanted to change everything from growing sweet potatoes. But that time I wanted to know why all those ecosystems are taking that value chain as really useless value chain. So the more I go into details, even the supervisor, I told him that I'm going to work with those people who are doing farming of it, and then I will get the data from them. So I will use the primary data to know exactly the challenges they are facing, and also maybe, you never know, we might come up with something to help them. So that's how I decided to do my dissertation on that. And then later on, that's where I was having so many ideas of adding value of it. Then the time I was thinking what I can do, that's where I meet with my colleagues, and we created the CAR group together. And then we started doing some small research and trials and so many things until we come up with some products that is really competitive on the market.
So a couple of questions about Carl Group. First off, what does Carl Group stand for? Is it standing for something, or is it just the word Carl?
Yeah, we didn't know that Carl means it's a boy's name.
Yes, yeah, and funnily enough, Regis, just to interrupt you quickly, Carl is a word that Scottish people cannot get their tongue around to say. We find it so hard to say. Yeah, it's like a common thing. Carl and burglar are words that we really struggle to say.
It's a different from that. Carl means our first letter of us, the shareholders. Okay. So it's Clarisse, C, Ada, Regis, and Larissa. So that's right, the full. It's abbreviation of our first names. Brilliant. So Clarisse, Ada, Regis, and Larissa.
And did you meet most of these guys at university, or?
Yes, I met one of them at high school. So we're a friend at high school. And then later, after when I was about to do my graduation, that's where we were just discussing on phone, what am I going to do after my graduation? And I was like, I think I want to be a businessman, but I didn't really have an idea of what am I going to do. And the time we discussed that, she was like, oh, we can even do something. I know you, since at high school, you were someone who has always ideas and so many things. I think you can do it. So that's how we say, okay, let's just try and let's open a company. I have an idea, but I don't know where to start with it. So we said, okay. And then she brought the other two ladies. They was the roommates of her. Then we created the company. And then, we started from that. I remember we were having zero coin in our pockets.
Yeah.
Because here in Rwanda, registering a company doesn't require any amount of money.
Right.
That's the name you want to name of your company and your partners if you have. And then we went there with afraid, of course, we were afraid of maybe they are going to ask us some money. But we went there, we sit together, they give us a form, we fill the form. After 6 months, 6 hours, they called us, please come and pick your certificate. So now you are registered. That's how we started.
And you said you didn't have an actual idea at the time, which the Carl Group is a perfect name for, because you've signed yourself up to nothing. You haven't called yourself the sweet potato processors. You know, you can. The world is your oyster. And tell us, Regis, where is the Carl Group now? What are you guys doing now? Where are we?
Yeah. From now, since then, we have been struggling, of course, to get the product. That was the main challenge, like to have a product which can be competed on the market. And then within, after almost 3 years, struggling, trying so many things, trying to find some funds. Of course, to access finance here is not easy as young people because of our financial structures here. They ask a lot of collaterals, and most of us, we don't have those kind of things. So we struggled until in 2018. That's where we started looking at ourselves as, because all of us did theoretical things like agriculture. We didn't know how to make things. Mm-hmm. For example, let's say we wanted to try bread, but we didn't know how to make a bread. Mm-hmm. So the first things, after struggling and trying some trials, making trials, we realized that we need to go somewhere to learn how to make bread. So me and my colleague, we went, I went in China for 2 months just to learn how to make a bread, but also with the inclusion of biotechnology application in food industry. So then I combined that and I come back here to try again my bread. So that's where me and my colleagues, we decided to work with people from Netherlands, mm-hmm. Who has expertise in bread making. They do have an organization that provides free consultants. So we applied for that. They came here, we shared the knowledge. They have that experience of making bread, not from sweet potatoes, but from wheat. So then we exchanged the ideas until we make the right bread that can compete on the market. So for now, we are selling our bread in the whole city of Kigali. We are working with more than 45 supermarkets across the town. We are working with the schools. We are working with hospitals. We are working with the different people now, including WFP, World Food Program, and National Child Development Agency, because we are targeting those young people, those children who are suffering from malnutrition. And we are working with the government officials in product and in technical assistance. We're partnered with them to make sure that once we need to develop even other products, we can now have at least someone who can help us to do science-based prototype. And now we are developing a very nutritious biscuit that will be sold to those kids who are suffering a lot, not only in Rwanda, but in the whole Africa. That's our wish. Where we'll be making that biscuit made from sweet potatoes. We want to extract that vitamin A, and also beans, iron beans. I don't know if you know these, the red beans.
What was the name, sorry?
Beans, iron beans.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. I just hadn't quite caught the first word yet.
Yes, we are mixing them the sweet potatoes and beans and some wheat and also eggs for the proteins. So we want to make sure that we can do our best to create the solutions of one of the issues that the country has, including that malnutrition issue. Now we have 33%, it's a huge number. So we want to try our best at least to contribute to available and accessibility as well as affordability of nutritious food locally. But to make it happen, you have to use locally sourced ingredients without importing ingredients. Want to make it just here by using what our farmers are making here. So apart from that, we are working with now it's around 20,000 farmers across the country of sweet potatoes. Now we already changed their mindset, shifting from doing it as subsistence farming to commercial farming. So from that time, we experienced with some wastage when they were bringing to our space. So now we created the solution of creating a chamber, a cooling chamber, which is a zero energy cooling chamber. So it's a kind of a chamber with that's made with the bricks from the clays, and then we build it in a way we can add charcoals inside, and then that charcoals you can just drop some water in the charcoals, and then it creates humidity without sourcing energy from anywhere. So it's a zero energy cooling chamber where we can have the minimum temperature is 8 degrees in the room. So we put an ICT tool, the sensors that shows showing us the variation of the temperature in the room, so that once it's hot, then we need to add some water, or we can just maybe make or open up the AC in the case. But that sensor shows the variation of the humidity, the temperature, the changes that could happen. And you can store sweet potatoes from 6 months up to 1 year.
Can you?
Normally, 1 year. Yeah. Normally, sweet potato is it's a perishable food, so it can be damaged within a few days. But that solution helps us to store it in a long time, and then we can do variation easily. We cannot having maybe a shortage of raw materials or a shortage of ingredients.
That's phenomenal, though, to take a product that's maybe got a week's life, maybe a couple of weeks' life, to a year. Like that's brilliant. I mean, amazing, and fair play to your team for doing that. We're talking about temperature here. I'm going to guess Rwanda is slightly hotter than Scotland. This would be my assumption. What sort of climate do you deal with throughout the year in Rwanda, Regis?
In Rwanda, we have a very good environment and weather, because we can do farming the whole year. Even though in the dry season that starts from June, we do irrigations, but the maximum temperature in Rwanda when it's hot is 32 degrees. That's the maximum. 32 degrees Celsius.
Oh, right. Okay, I thought it was going to be a bit higher than that, in fairness.
That's the highest.
Right.
So then the minimum, depend on the region. The minimum it's happened mostly in the north. It's 14.
Right. So you've got quite a close range. You know, like I mean, like for example, just this year in Scotland. Let's say UK. I know the UK hit 41 somewhere, and you know, in the winter we'll definitely see below zero. So It's this massive variation.
I have been there. I know some. I remember I came in Scotland in, I think it was 2019, 2019, I think. And I think I came in during this month, November. It was a bit so cold. But here, being cold, being hot is very big deal. So that's weather help us to grow and to do farming at least 3 seasons a year. So we have a 3 season. We have
you've sort of disappeared, Regis. Wait a second.
Okay.
Sorry, could you just say about the seasons again there, Regis? You fell out for a second.
Oh, yeah. I was saying that we have 3 seasons a year. And the first season starts from September to December.
Yes.
And ends almost in the beginning of January. And then from February to May, we have season B. And then from May to September, we have season C.
Do the seasons have names, or are they just ABC?
Formally, or in a document, we use those season A, B, C.
Okay.
That's A, B, C. And then we add according to the year, of course. Let's say now we are in the season A of 2022 to 2023. So that's we add that's a year. Right. But in Kinyarwanda, there's a Kinyarwanda names of that. But in the documents, in the policies, we use season A, B, C.
What out of interest are the Rwandan names? I'd quite like to hear that.
I think we can just skip this because I might be wrong.
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Because of these young generations, we are in the world of reading and using professional words. Sometimes we forget the traditional things.
Yeah, for sure.
So to not be wrong, let's just Skype it. Take it as season A, B, C.
We'll go with that. It's easier to remember anyway. It's easier to remember. You mentioned younger generation, and I've been on your LinkedIn. I've sort of looked at what you've done. What age are you?
I'm now too old. I have 33 years. So I'm becoming old.
What age did you say you were? Are you not going to say your age? You don't have to.
Yeah, 33.
33. Well, it's amazing what you fitted into that time. It's mad, the amount of things you've fitted in. I mean, for those of you listening, guys, if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you are, we're only, I don't know, maybe about half an hour in, and we're only really halfway in Regis's story. There is a fantastic amount of stuff in here, so it's quite crazy what you fitted in. You mentioned you've been to Scotland. Could you tell us about that? What did that involve?
Yeah, 2016 in Rwanda, government decided to launch a national platform for young people in agribusiness. So we created the forum that's called the Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum. And I was one of the board of that forum, heading agro-processing cluster. We used to have 5 clusters. Based on the value chains, we have crop production cluster, livestock cluster, ICT in agriculture, and the other services, and also. So I was leading agro-processing cluster there. Right. And from that time, I remember there was a trip from young Scottish young Association of Young Farmers.
Yeah, Scottish Association of Young Farmers. Yes.
Young Farmers Club.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think the first time they came here as tourists, if I remember well, there was one of the, I think he's now advisor to the club, Sandy.
Okay.
So yes, he came here with James Montmelu, I think, Montmelu, something like that. And then with his colleague who were just taking them around, they were so interested to know about farming practices in Rwanda. And they called the guy who was in Rwanda, he was Rwandan. And then he called me if I can just take them around. So at the time we met, I was so happy to meet with them because the first time we met was just in the bar taking something to drink just for connection.
Yeah.
And then the more we discussed about farming things in Rwanda, they shared with me how also they do in Scotland. They told me about the club. I told them about the RIAF, the Rwanda Youth and Agribusiness Forum. And I was like, actually, the similar things. And they told me that they're about to have celebrate anniversary of 70-something years. And for us, we were just starting, just having 2 to 3 years. And I was like, oh my God, we need really to learn from you guys how you were managed to learn an organization in 75 years. And still, it's the same name, Young Farmers. And for
Absolutely.
us here, even if it's Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness, it's a similar name.
Yeah.
So I was like, we can learn a lot from you guys. And we started exchanging. And just 1 year after, they came back with the team. And then I took them around. I showed, even they came to my factory that time. They came
Excellent.
to my bakery. They tried to do some bands, some Scottish bands, so many, And I took them in the rural area to see the other farming practices in Rwanda. We signed an MOU with our forum, with the Young Scott. And then after 1 year, we also went back we came to Scotland. So then we visited the farms, visited post-harvest warehouses where they store things. Actually, that's where I even got an idea of making that storage facility I made.
Yeah.
But the ones I visited was so big. Was the electric one using I think there's maybe I don't know how I can call it, but it's a big warehouses with the big ventilators to make the cold in the warehouse.
Okay.
They were storing the potatoes. So we visited them. Then the time I came back here, I was trying to see if I can make it the traditional way without investing much money. And that's how we came in Scotland to visit the farmers. I visited so many places in Scotland with my team. We came as we were 4 in the team.
Right.
And we visited some bakeries as well. I learned a lot from the Scotland culture, food, everything. And I wish even to come back to learn even more.
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
Well, here, if you come back we have to we have to meet up, but also I would love to come out and see what's happening in Rwanda as well, because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, please come. You have to come.
Well, yeah, I'll take you up on that sometime. It's interesting you say that they were so good at running a club, they were so good at this, they were so good at that. But you've taken a system that probably cost millions of pounds, like British pounds, not talking, is it Rwandan franc? Is that right? No.
Yes, Rwandan franc. Yes. You're
right. All this money sort of input, but you've taken that sort of theory and turned it into a reality in Rwanda for sweet potatoes and at not much cost. You've not said the cost, but from what you're saying, I can tell it's less, which is arguably more impressive. Like that's a skill in itself. We've sort of talked about farming in Rwanda, but we've really focused on the sweet potato, understandably, because it's your side of things, Regis. But what other farming is happening in Rwanda? Because there's a number in my head flying around, and I'll say it, I might be miles off, but I'm sure that about 70%, about 72-3% of people in Rwanda are farming. Now,
relying on farming.
What was that, sorry?
70% of Rwandese are relying on farming, on agriculture.
Right, farming. Okay, right. So that's maybe what I'd seen. Whereas here in the UK, we've got about 500,000 working in agriculture, and we've got 70 million folk. So it's less than 1%. Now there's going to be other sort of related sectors, maybe taking you up to 2 or 3 million. But this is such a massive industry in Rwanda. It's so dependent on this. So what other crops, what other livestock are being reared?
Actually, I forgot to mention doing or having caribou. I'm also a chairperson of the agriculture and livestock in the city of Kigali.
Got it written there. Just going to ask you.
Yes. Yes. Which means I'm leading all the farmers in the city of Kigali. Those who are doing farming, either in livestock, either in crop production. So I'm leading them in an organization called Private Sector Federation. So Private Sector Federation is an umbrella of all business operators in the country. So then we have different clusters, including agriculture cluster, industry, services, and specialized cluster that combine the youth and women, business operators. So then its organization structure started from national board up to village level. So me, I'm leading the farmers in the city of Kigali. So then I have to know all those things you are asking about, the policies, the crops, the environment, the ecosystem. All I have to make sure that I'm informed on all those things, because my responsibility is to do advocacy for those farmers. Mm-hmm. So then you cannot do advocacy without knowing the ecosystem you are working in, which means we are working closely with the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources here. We are working with the development partners who are working with the farmers and so many other stakeholders, such as local government. So from the policy perspective of the question you asked, government of Rwanda has agriculture policy, of course. And then within the agriculture policy, they set a priority crops to focus on within the strategy of certain, because under the policies, there is a strategies, different strategies based on different sectors, because in agriculture, we are talking about crop production, but also there's a livestock production, so many things. So then they have to set different strategies according to the value chains. So they set a priority crops in the program called the Crop Intensification Program. So where there's 7 crops in that strategy. which includes, but not limited to, maize, Irish potatoes, beans, soja. You know soja? Soja or soya. Soja.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Soybean type thing. Yeah.
Yes, soybean. Yes, soybean.
Yeah.
Yes, soybean. You're right, soybean. And cassava.
Yeah, of course.
What else? There are 7 priority crops. So then, under that program called Seeds Crop Intensification Program, in lice, I talked about lice.
Well, no, but feel free
Yes,
to. Yeah.
lice is part of it. Lice is part of it. So I think they were looking at them into 2 things. They were looking at food security when they decided to group those priority crops. They were looking at food security, but also they were looking at sustainable market for those crops, so that it can help the farmers to get out from the poverty line. So then that's where, after having that policy, that's where they started banning sweet potatoes, actually. Even though I'm talking about that. Because they wanted people to shift from growing sweet potato everywhere and then start growing maize and lice and those priority crops.
Quite a shift, almost working away from what you've been working on. But
yeah. Then from that perspective of having that program of intensification program, they started other program which is called the land consolidating programs.
Okay.
Because people were doing farming at small scale levels, and everyone having a small plot, a small farm, and so they started trying to make people together, either in cooperatives, either in groups, or in companies, but to just consolidate their land so that they can grow one crop at the big land.
Okay.
So that's one of the initiatives that in the program that's really worked well, because when you look at the total area of lice, for example, it's really big, and also the maize is a seasonal crop, but it's one of the main crop that mostly when you are starting up the season, you focus on March. You make sure that people are growing maize at large scale of land. And apart from that, I'm just talking about the policies. They set also a future vision of the farming of Rwanda. You were talking about, for example, that big number of the farmers. And the country taking it as a problem. Having 70% of people who are dying on agriculture is a big challenge. It's a challenge because those 70%, it doesn't mean that they are rich because of having those farms. They are very, very poor.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they are doing it in a subsistence way, just the way of living. And the government wants to change the agriculture sector into commercial business. So to make it happen, they set a goals of reducing that numbers to be coming from 70% to maybe 40 something. Even if we can be able to go even low, below that, could be a good goals. But of course, it requires a lot of things, to put people together. And then now, for example, what am I doing here in the city of Kigali? We are having wetlands. And when you look at the wetlands in the city of Kigali, within the wetland, we have small-scale farmers who have a small plot in the wetlands. And now we are going to do, we are looking for the big farmers, the commercial farmers who can come and take over the whole wetland and grow one crop and give and create employment opportunities to those small-scale farmers who are there. So which means a farmer will be one person, but employing maybe hundreds of small-scale farmers. So that's the way we are trying to do, and the future of agriculture in Rwanda is trying to minimize, to reduce that people who are relying on agriculture, and create, we used to call it non-farm jobs, so that we can be able to make our agriculture more modernized and also more commercial. So from that, they created so many different projects that work with the farmers, including mechanization policies, irrigation policies, creating big hubs of farming. Some are private, but others are government. The government also created some incentives for those who want to make it more commercial, including maybe reducing some taxes on some equipment imported. For example, if you want to import equipment in mechanization or in irrigation, there's tax exemption on that.
Okay.
When you are going into value additions, so there's some tax exemption in the equipment you are importing. So, they created so many incentives so that we can see more investors, big people who can invest in agriculture. And then once the big people, they invested, then we create employment opportunities to those small-scale farmers. And then we have sustainable farming practices in Rwanda. So that's the whole ecosystem. There are so many things that is happening here in Rwanda. But the main is to modernize our agriculture, reducing that number of people relying on agriculture, and then make it as a business, that can really make people from the poverty line to the rich line.
It's a very forward thinking sort of just process in general, and it's good to see that a place that is poverty stricken, as you've said, Regis, that you're working on a way, amongst others, to hopefully come out of that, which is lovely to see. I think you've frozen, but I can't tell. Oh, you haven't frozen. You're fine. And one thing that when, unfortunately, when I hear about Rwanda, the first thing I think of is a really nice flag. I love the Rwandan flag. But something that hit Rwanda within your lifetime was an absolute atrocity, in the mid-90s. And to look at, we don't need to get into that too much today, but to look at where I mean, that would be in your lifetime, you'd have been around sort of 7 or 8, I assume. Is that right? Yeah, and to see where you are only at 33, chairing the agricultural board for the country, creating an extremely positive product that allows vitamin A to get into the mouths of the masses. I mean, vitamin A is one that in India, they tried to create this golden rice. They gene edited this product to try and get more beta carotene in it. And you've got this product, sweet potato, that is growing all around the country. And you're integrating that into people's diets. And I think that's brilliant and really insightful. And you've said a few times throughout the way that other countries, maybe more developed, which is a word I absolutely hate, but we'll say it anyway, more developed countries are doing well at. And then you look at what you've worked with and what you've created, and I think it's inspiring. So you should be very proud of where you are. How?
Thank you.
No, not at all. Say it purely in truth and from the heart. I'm not just saying that either. How did you come about to be the chair of agriculture?
From the experience, I used to have it in car group.
Yep.
And then, I told you about the launch of Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum. So I have been doing some advocacy on how Rwanda can support young people who want to join the family. Because we're very small that time, we're just a few people the few young people who joined agriculture that time, the time I started my business. So, and I was so passionate about agribusiness. I was very passionate, and I wanted to see more young people get involved in the business, in agribusiness. Because I was thinking that young people, those who have skills, instead of graduating and looking for jobs in either in the ministries of being agronomists, I was thinking, how can we start being farmers, not just being employed by farmers? I just wanted people to be farmers. That's where I was seeing our future, at least to have those professional farmers and commercial farmers. Because young people, when you look at our population, almost 60% of total population are young people in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the average years of farmers, it's 55 years old.
Right. Okay.
So which means we get fed by 30% or 40%. Because normally we used to say that 60% is people from 24 up to 35 years old. It's 70% of the total population. So then the average years of the farmers are 55 years. So can you imagine then what will happen in the future when we are not having those old people in the family? So we suffer from hunger, we suffer from so many things. So then I did a lot of, mobilization, talking about how can we support young people to get involved in a family. That's how the government, with me and my colleagues, we pushed the government up till they created that forum, Rwanda Youth and Agribusiness Forum. And the purpose of that forum was two things. One was to change the mindset of young people, to show them that they can get great things in the family. By using those who are really in the business of farming to change the mindset of those who are not yet going into farming. So the second one was to help to support those who are already in the business of farming to grow, to make a big impact. So that was the two main goals of the forum when was since its establishment. So I contributed a lot in those two things. So then the time I was pushing and advocating, and they realized that I can even do more. That's where I get involved in the private sector federation, and I was elected as vice president of the Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs at the private sector in 2018. So now I'm moving from leading young farmers into leading young business operators in all sectors. So I did my best there. And then in this year, actually, that's where they say, Regis, they came to me asking me then if I can take a lead to agriculture, leading in the city of Kigali. So all comes from that experience of what I did before. And then they said, please, we want you to be on board. We want to change, we want you to change how agriculture is taken in the city of Kigali, because in the city of Kigali, they used to be, it's an urban area. So people were saying that maybe we don't even know that there's farming practices in the city of Kigali, or farming activities in the city of Kigali. While it is there, Kigali is one of the biggest markets of all the crops we are doing. And agriculture is a whole value trade. It's not just single line, the chain, including the market, the transport, the practice, the value addition, all of that. So then they say we need young people who can help us to change the farming activities in the city of Kigali. So that's how I get elected to be a chairperson of the agriculture and livestock in the city of Kigali. And now I'm so excited. Of course, I'm doing so many things. I'm advocating. We want to change to make urban farming, not just, we are in the city, we want to see something attractive, but also making money from it, but also making foods to be available in the city, because of the more we are getting something from in the rural area, the transport cost also adds some cost on the price and the end price. But if we can do it here in Kigali, the price will be low. So we are trying to do our best, but using young people's energy. We are thinking about introducing some ICT in agriculture. We can do cropping in a small scale farm and make a huge productivity by, of course, including that technology I'm talking about. And that's why we always need to learn more about the urban farming, the advanced technology in agriculture. But my contribution is to bring that young people's energy into the sector, but also changing the mindset of the old people to coming from subsistence farming to modern farming.
Well,
so that's what I can talk about.
Joy, excellent. I don't think they could have found anyone more passionate, anyone more knowledgeable, and anyone more forward thinking. So they've appointed a good man, I would say. Well, dear, so Regis, when Katie first mentioned your name, I was like, this is interesting. This sounds great fun. And I was really looking forward to it. And I've told so many folk that I'm interviewing someone that works in Rwanda. I'm so excited about this. I've been telling everyone. And it has not disappointed. I'm sure the viewers have absolutely loved your story. Your sort of passion and just your just general positive emotion shines through. It's brilliant to see. But I finish every podcast with 2 questions. And I think you're going to be absolutely brilliant for one of these questions. But the first question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the second question, which is what I think you'll be brilliant to answer, is if you had tips for people coming into farming, now speak particularly in Rwanda, what would they be?
Yeah, okay. So in 5 years, I'm in the food sector, and the whole chain of agribusiness, of course. But my wish is to be to have a leading company in Rwanda that produces nutritious food. And from that point, I always need to learn so many things. I'm now looking at how I can do my master's in food science, because I do get different challenges when we are prototyping things or when we are trying to make a new product. We suffer a lot because of not having that science behind the prototyping. But apart from that, when you look at how government is trying to put energy in primary production, which means we might have maybe a huge produce, which will not have in the market. So that's why we need to really focus much on value addition of things we are producing here. And to make it happen, it's producing foods, value-added foods. And you can't produce, even when you look at the way we do things here, we are still using arts instead of science. So me, I want to use science in making foods, not arts. Arts is about mixing things. You come up with the idea, you make things, you get things. But science, it goes beyond that.
Yep.
So I want to focus much on that and make sure that our company is using and making nutritious products, but basing on science. Mm-hmm. So because we are looking at not just the local markets of Rwanda, but looking at African land at large. We have now Africa Free Trade Area. We can be able to sell our products in the regions, in the Africa continent. So to make our product more competitive, that's where we need that competitive product, and the science comes. So I'm trying to see if I can do food science course as a master's. That will help me to make that prototype. So in 5 years, we want to see our company exporting our products in the African continent, but also making sure that we contributed at least to the reduction of malnutrition in Rwanda. That's the company view. And myself, as a Regis, I always love to serve. Okay. So I always love to help other fellows who has maybe less information than me. So yeah, why not if I cannot even lead the agriculture and livestock at national level? So that's my wish, that's to contribute to the policy making, to share my ideas on how we can do and help those who are in need and at the focus for many people as possible. So that's me in the 5 years.
Big goals.
Yeah. Then for the second question, the people who want to join farming, specifically in Africa, not even only in Rwanda. You know, farming or doing agriculture, when you look at the African continent and in the African concept, people think agriculture as a vulnerable sector, mm-hmm. or as a charity sector. It seems like we do farming just because we want to support something. I don't know. So, but if you want to go into farming, first of all, think it's a business. Mm-hmm. Not just thinking it's a valuable thing or something that you are going to do because you want to have a fun or you want to do because it's a leisure. Sometimes because of these heritage things, people think they can do other side business and then having agriculture as, funny things. No. Let's do it as a business. If we decide to do it as a business, then we will invest much money. We will do farming as a project business, as another business. You have to make a business plan. You have to look for funds from banks. You have to pay back the bank. So we have to look at farming as a real business that can generate a huge income. So the second thing is that to be a good farmer, you have also to have that heart of being persistent. And you have to be patient sometimes because something happened in the family. We didn't talk about the climate change.
We didn't know. We didn't.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen in agriculture. So the weather, the pandemics, we might have so many things can happen due to the climate change. And especially when it comes to Africa, where we are suffering a lot from climate actions or climate change problems. We are seeing floods in different countries of Africa. It might come and take all your produce. So in that case, you have to be persistent. You have to be, having, I used to say that normally doing business, there's two things. Either you do business coming from your stomach or coming from your heart. Mm-hmm. If you are doing business from stomach, that's where you need the shortcuts. You can even do wrong things just to get feeded to your stomach. But if you are doing business coming from your heart, that's where you do things because you are helping someone or because you are doing something in the will of others. So then you need that heart of
I like that a lot.
Being passionate. Yeah, thank you. So then the third thing is the agribusiness is a profitable business. So you need to be passionate about it. So once you are passionate about it, you can have a fund, the farm, you can have money, you can be rich, you can be everything from just the farm. So just we need that passion.
And I've said it before, passion's a word I've used to describe yourself already, Regis, but it has been, I mean, it's been an episode around an hour long. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and it's so, what's the word? I think the word is inspiring to see, you're taking on so many challenges and you're turning them into opportunities, and you're already finding solutions to so many of them. And it's amazing. It really is. I'm so impressed by everything you've done for agriculture, and just for society in general in Rwanda. I think it's fantastic. So as I've said once already before, you really should be proud of what you've done. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I did.
Good. Yeah. It's always good to hear about different cultures. I love hearing about different places and how it works there and that sort of thing. And what an interesting country it is, and what an interesting character you are as well. Great. It's been great fun speaking to you. For those of you listening, whether it is YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I hope you've enjoyed. I'm sure you have. Last week was our first, well, not last week. The last podcast was our first ever group podcast where we had Countryside Learning on, which is it's a charity and a business run by my uncle, which looks at sort of getting rural education into schools. So it was a good chat. As has this been. Where are we going next week? The answer is I don't know, because I'm currently filming a few podcasts. We've got the Christmas special ready, which will be out in, I'm trying to think when this will be out. This episode, Regis, will be out around the start of December. So we're about a month ahead. So Christmas episode will be out in a few weeks, which is a very good one, let me tell you. So yeah, thank you for listening. Regis, I hope you've had a good time. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and the last word from me is that Rwanda is open. Rwanda is open for everyone. Please come. We need those knowledge from your side, your experience. We need to exchange the knowledge. So Rwanda is open. You can get visa once at your level here at the airport. And we have very good coffee. We have very good tea. You can enjoy it at the fullest. So please visit Rwanda.
Well, first off, absolutely. That is definitely on the bucket list now. And I'm going to annoy you and say I don't drink tea and I don't drink coffee.
You can enjoy milk. You can enjoy other things. You can even enjoy sweet potato bread.
Excellent. And I have to try this. bread. Sounds fantastic. Yeah. I tell you what, Regis. You've had the young farmers out to Rwanda. I will try and bring some of my students to Rwanda. How does that sound?
Please. I will take care of them.
Excellent. That I mean, it's not going to something that's going to happen overnight, but I think that sounds like a fantastic.
It's okay. No worries. I'm still there.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Well, thank you very much. To those of you listening, we'll see you next week. And yes, have a good week.
Well, that's it. Another R2Kast finished. Another agricultural mind opened up. And I would just like to say that getting these guests on board, it does take time, and it always has done. But I've now went weekly, and with that comes even more time required. And I would just like to finally thank once more the Scottish Farmer for sponsoring the show and making that much more possible. Please be sure to get in touch if you've any ideas of people you'd like to see on the podcast, or maybe ideas you have for me presenting better, because I definitely do require that. See you in the next one.